This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Coming at you live from Cleveland, Ohio, site of the NBA Finals, where last night the Golden State Warriors made what some would say was an improbable comeback. Most wouldn't call it improbable. 118-113, courtesy of an 11-0 run by the Golden State Warriors in the last 3 minutes and 10 seconds of the NBA Finals Game 3. I will get into all of that in just a couple of minutes or so. Allow me, however, to get a bit personal and veer left for the time being. I've obviously been gone for a little while, and as you all know, my mother passed away after a long, lengthy battle with cancer. I just wanted to take a moment to extend my incredible and immeasurable gratitude to so many people out there. The entire ESPN family was absolutely wonderful, especially the folks, ESPN LA, ESPN New York, ESPN overall. Great bosses, best boss I've ever had in my life, my man Dave Roberts, Tim McCarthy, who runs ESPN New York, Scott McCarthy, who runs ESPN LA, the bosses from the Bob Igers of the world to the John Skippers of the world to the Connor Shells of the world to the Bill Wolfs of the world, to friends of mine like Galen Gordon, to the Chuck Solituros of the world and Dave Brofsky's, Michael Kay, Don LaGreca, my colleagues, my producers here, and Jonathan and Nuno and Kat. The list just goes on and on. I'm hesitant to mention names because everybody who was anybody was just there for me and my family in honoring my mother's passing, and my gratitude knows no limits when it comes to the love and the respect and just the heartfelt condolences that were extended to myself and my family. And on behalf of my family, I just want to say to everybody out there, I appreciate it. I also appreciate so many fans out there in the millions. I didn't know I had that many fans, to be quite honest with you, but whether it was via social media on Twitter or Facebook, things in my emails, literally between emails, texts, messages, and phone calls, I literally had over 2,000 people personally reach out to me, and obviously millions on social media and beyond. My contemporaries in the business, the whole NBA team of Shaq and Barkley and Kenny Smith and the great Ernie Johnson Jr. and, colleagues like David Aldridge for NBA and Greg Anthony, and, just the list just goes on and on and on. And, of course, the NBA family here at ESPN, the Chauncey Billups and Paul Pierce and Jalen Rose doing NBA Countdown, and just the list just goes on and on and on. And guys, folks in Hollywood, folks in the NFL, owners, coaches, executives. Hey, when you do what I do, you'd like to believe that you're respected. You sincerely doubt that you're loved. But when folks reach out to show you that all of the above applies, I just can't tell you how touching it is. And so I'm probably going to take some time away again, but not before these finals are over. My family told me to get back to work, told me to finish the job because obviously the NBA finals are here, reminded me that it's what my mama would have wanted. My sister Linda and Arlene and Abigail and Carmen told me that, and obviously my mother had 6 children. My brother passed away many years ago. She's got 5 left, 12 grandchildren, 17 great-grandchildren. And so me being the patriarch of the family, it's my job to make sure that I'm there for everybody. And I can't do that if I don't show up to work. And more importantly, if these were athletes that were going through these things, we'd hope and expect them to go back to work, even though we'd understand that expectation is still there. And if it's there for them, it's got to be there for me. And that's why I'm here, to finish the finals over the airwaves of ESPN, whether it's on television or on radio, and obviously Sirius XM as well. And let me not forget the folks from Sirius XM, including Mad Dog Radio, my former family, from Doggy himself, Chris Mad Dog Russo, to Steve Torrey, the program director who's hosting the show over there, to Steve Cohen, the general manager, of course, to the president himself of SiriusXM, Mr. Scott Greenstein, the Dan Grasses of the world, the Adam Shines of the world. The list just goes on and on. Again, I don't know what else to say. I know I'm supposed to be a talker. I'm supposed to find the words, as best I possibly can. But my sincere gratitude, heartfelt gratitude, and, my family, we could not have been more touched. We really, really, really could not have. Yes, my man Skip Bayless reached out to me. He made sure of it, along with his lovely wife Ernestine, their family to me. I love them dearly. Want to thank them as well. And Jamie Horowitz, the boss of FS1, who, we're competitors, I guess, but they're friends for life. And, what do you say? Even to some of the critics out there in the blogosphere, the core decency that they expressed, and I usually don't read all of that stuff, but I couldn't help it. You had awful announcing and the Bleacher Report and all of these other folks, and they took the time to extend gratitude and to be so kind and so nice and so humane. And it was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. And I will never forget it as long as I live. Yeah, folks going to come at you and they're going to get on me for the things that I say and all of that stuff, and that's fine. You sit in this seat, that comes with the job. But when they take moments to remind you of their own humanity and the humanity you yourself should have, I cannot thank you enough. It is unquestionably the most painful experience that I've ever had in my life. My mother was my everything, and I just cannot tell y'all how much I love her, how much myself and my family are hurting because she is gone. But if there was ever a time in my life that I knew I could get through something because of the support that I have, it is now. So on behalf of the entire Smith family, to the family at ESPN LA, to the family at ESPN New York, to the family at SiriusXM, most definitely to the family here at ESPN, and the Walt Disney family as well, ABC included, with Barbara Fedita and her lovely self, and the list goes on and on. On behalf of the Smith family, I just want to thank all of those folks and the millions of people out there, millions, who reached out to express their love and support for me. I never saw it coming. I never expected it. But I am eternally grateful and thankful to have received it. And so is my family. So I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And I will never forget it as long as I'm breathing. 866-729-ESPN is the number to call up. That's 866-729-3776. We've obviously got sports to get into. That's the job. That's why I'm here. Finish the job as my family asked me to do. And let me say this to you. I watched this game last night. And let me first say, it's over. I think the Cavs are going to get swept. I think that the Cavs simply are not good enough. It's no shame in it for anybody. I mean, Kevin Love shooting 1 for 9 from the field last night certainly didn't help matters, but it's no shame in it. He's played relatively well up until last night. The Golden State Warriors are simply a better team. Kevin Durant is a superstar. We knew this. We said on many, many occasions, I know I have, that he's the best player on the best team, and he has shown it. And for me, that's the story that really, really resonates right now. It's not just that the Golden State Warriors are up to 3-0. It's not just that they have 4 All-Stars. By the way, 3 of them played like an All-Star last night. Draymond Green's going to have some making up to do in Game 4 because of how he looked last night. It did not look well for him. But that's all right. He played well the first 2 games. Foul trouble has been plaguing him, but he just seemed out of it and off last night. But that's okay. But Kevin Durant's on another level. He's on a mission. And as far as I'm concerned, LeBron James is answering the bell, but not to the degree that I would like. And allow me to explain. LeBron James is the greatest player in the world. We all recognize that and we appreciate that. And when he is gone, ultimately, we should miss him. We really, really should. Because the greatness that we've witnessed from LeBron, you don't see every day. But none of us are infallible. All of us are imperfect. And as a result, that leads us towards being obligated to talk about what we're seeing. And I don't hear enough people talking about this. My issue with LeBron James right now has nothing to do with his numbers. Believe it or not, it's with his mouth. Kevin Durant started out this series basically letting the world know, I'm coming for the king. I'm coming for his crown. I'm coming for his stature and cachet. And I'm coming to be recognized as the best in the world. And I'm going to put all of this noise to bed once and for all as to me playing Robin to LeBron's Batman, me playing second fiddle to anybody. I am 6'11". I do have a 7'6" wingspan. I do have skills like a guard. I can handle the rock. I can hit a mid-range jumper. And oh, by the way, LeBron can't shoot long range like me. He can't shoot from the free throw line like I can. He's not the sniper, the marksman extraordinaire that I am. This is what Kevin Durant seemed to be saying before the series even started. And as we now reflect on this series thus far, it's not officially over, but for all intent and purposes, it's over because nobody in NBA history has ever come back from an 0-3 deficit to capture a championship in the NBA. They did it in the NLCS in 2004 when the Red Sox came back on the New York Yankees. But other than that, it has never been done. So here we are, looking at LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I can't help but articulate for y'all what I noticed. Do y'all remember when the series, before the series even began, when the Boston Celtics had gotten waxed by the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5 games? Do y'all remember that? Do you remember when LeBron finally beat them? And they asked him about another Eastern Conference crown, and they asked him about going up against the Golden State Warriors. Do you remember what LeBron James said? Here's what he said. I don't even want to think about that right now. I don't even want to stress myself thinking about the Golden State Warriors. I want to enjoy this moment because that's too tough of a task for me to really contemplate and think about right now. It's too stressful. I ask you a simple yet probably rhetorical question. Can you tell me one champion you've ever heard sound like that? One. Take your time. I'll wait. It hasn't happened. You don't hear champions talk like that. Yes, you respect the competition. You recognize what you're up against. But you certainly don't come across as if you concede in defeat to the point where you can't even converse about them because they're too stressful to even think about. What kind of nonsense is that? Then we take it a step further. Just the other day, they're talking to LeBron being down 0-2 before last night's game. Did you hear what LeBron James said out of his mouth? Well, I'm doing fine. I'm paraphrasing. I'm doing fine. I'm averaging a triple-double. In other words, he's doing his job. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever heard a champion talk like that? See, I'm not falling for the okie doke. It's not about numbers to me. I know LeBron James is going to get his numbers. You know what it's about? It's about moments. And you are listening to somebody, contrary to what people would try to tell you, I love me some LeBron James. I love the player that he is. I love the man that he is. I love the representative that he is in the African-American community, if I'm being quite candid. Putting thousands of kids through college. Being so philanthropic with this foundation. Being such a conscientious observer as it comes to political issues and social issues in our world. While always, always, always representing himself in pretty close to pristine and stellar fashion. LeBron James is the epitome of an incredible role model. Somebody we should all be proud of. And the fact that somebody could be so trifling and so hateful to spray paint racial epithets on his gate in Brentwood, L.A., California, is something that should have alarmed us all and should remind us all none of us are safe in this day and age that we're living in right now. We've become more polarized, not galvanized and unified. And in spite of all of that, I can look at LeBron and say, I'm proud of that brother. But the fact is, that don't have anything to do with what we're witnessing in these finals. What we're witnessing in this finals, ladies and gentlemen, is a guy by the name of Kevin Durant averaging 34 a game on 56% shooting from the field, on 52% shooting from three-point range. Ladies and gentlemen, this is prolific. This is lethal, off-the-cuff, out of this world stuff that this brother is doing to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Remember, LeBron's guarding him half the time, if not more. It ain't like this is LeBron against Steph Curry, and Steph Curry's being guarded by Kyrie 1 minute, Amon Shumpert the next, J.R. Smith the next, or something like that. No. It's LeBron James guarding Kevin Durant. It's Kevin Durant guarding LeBron James. And LeBron James got the 39, and LeBron James is balling, and I'll get all of that. But ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Durant has outscored LeBron James 31-11 in the fourth quarter of these NBA Finals. And when you're talking about that, you know what you're talking about? Moments. And when one is showing up in the moment and others are not, that's a reality we got to talk about. Because as much as I love and respect me some LeBron James, I have an obligation to point out that you don't get to hide behind numbers that analytic dudes will throw out to disguise what you're not doing. Yes, LeBron James is averaging a triple-double in these finals. Yes, he's been formidable in the first half. And maybe he's being worn down because Golden State is constantly pushing the ball up the floor, and Steve Kerr and Mike Brown and those boys are throwing a multitude of bodies at Golden State that Cleveland can't throw at Golden State. Or they're throwing bodies at Cleveland that Cleveland can't throw at Golden State. Fair enough. But you knew that coming into the series. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a changing of the guard that's taking place before our very eyes. And even though I'm not going to sit up there and tell you definitively that LeBron James is no longer the best player in the world, I will tell you this. If he gets swept tomorrow night, it might be time to start having that discussion. Because last time I checked, Kevin Durant plays defense too. And he appears to be just as, if not more efficient offensively than LeBron.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
LeBron James is averaging 32 points on 55% shooting and 38.9% from three-point range. He's averaging a triple-double in this series, 32, 12, and 10. Throwing out numbers like that, you would think somebody is playing excellent basketball. How is Tim Legler feeling about the way he's played right now?
I think LeBron James has been dominant and extraordinary for large stretches of games. I don't think he's taken matters into his hands enough in the fourth quarter. And I think last night was an example of that, particularly late in the game. Mm-hmm. And I'm not one of these guys, Stephen A., that always insists, a star player needs to take the shot every time and I'm going to beat him up if he doesn't. I think that's silly. But what I say always is if a role player or another guy takes the shot because the defense dictated to the star player that's the right play to make, I'm always going to support that decision. And last night, I don't think that was the case with the play in which Kyle Korver took that three in the corner, because I've broken it down multiple times on SportsCenter this morning, and I've frozen the play and let people see. Draymond Green was actually dictating to LeBron James that the right driving lane was open. His right foot was up defensively. His body was turned completely to the sideline, which was telling LeBron, you have the right lane if you want to take it. And Draymond had 5 fouls. Kevin Durant's the only guy back there that's going to come help at the rim. LeBron actually had it in a situation where that is a phenomenal decision, and it's probably going to turn out well if he takes that decision. Instead, he went out of his way to get back to the middle, crossed over Draymond to get to the middle where the traffic was, and then, yes, that's the right pass.
Okay.
But it shouldn't have ever come to that, because I think he had more than enough space, room, and an angle to attack the right side of that lane, and he was going to meet no resistance until he got to Kevin Durant at the rim.
Here's the question. Why do you think he did that?
Well, I think for me, and I could be dead wrong, but I think there's always going to be a small percentage somewhere deep in LeBron James' mind that, number one, 2% say, am I even going to get the call? So there's a chance you go in there and you get contested and there's traffic maybe at the rim and you don't get the call. And the other thing is, what if I do get the call and now I've got to go make 2 really important free throws?
After shooting a career worst 67% from the
It has not been a
year.
strong suit for him. Now, he shot him, I think, pretty well last night. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I mean, the first half he was making free throws. And but I think there's always a part of that late in the game for LeBron.
He shot 4 or 5 from the free throw line last night, Tim.
And it was all in the first half. So, I remember him swishing some, and it looked good coming off. And I'm like, okay, he's in a good place tonight. But that's not the same as shooting him in the fourth quarter. And I think there's always going to be just enough percentage of doubt in his mind that if he can avoid that situation and still end up with something that he feels like is a smart play, he's going to take it. And I just felt like he went out of his way to avoid something that is probably, if I listed 10 offensive options for the Cleveland Cavaliers, the number one thing at the top of the list is LeBron James with an angle driving hard to his right hand, knowing he will not meet resistance until he's at the rim. That's number one on the list of Cavs options offensively that I would like to see. And it was there, and he chose not to take it. And he ended up making a play that he had to make because of where he took the ball. And Korver ends up with a semi-contested 3 in the corner, more than capable of making the shot. That's not the point here. The point is there was another option better 3-4 seconds before Kyle Korver got that basketball, and that was LeBron James beating Draymond Green off the dribble and going through the chest of Kevin Durant at the rim to ensure that you're taking matters into your own hands up by 2.
Tim Legler right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. So with all of that being said, let me take you to something, because psychologically, I mean, you can break down the X's and O's, but you also break things down psychologically. That's why I love talking basketball with you, Tim. LeBron James is on the record citing the Warriors' immense firepower. Prior to the series beginning, after beating Boston, he didn't even want to talk about the Warriors because it was too stressful to think about them. Then the other day before Game 3, he brings up his numbers and how he's averaging a triple-double, basically giving the impression, look, if we lost, I did my job. I'm uncomfortable with all of that because I don't hear champions talking like that. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And actually, you're the first person that has brought up to me, and I don't even know if I've even seen it brought up anywhere. When he made that comment after they closed out Boston, I thought that was so strange. To say, I don't want to talk about them. It's one thing to say, look, man, we just closed out the East. Yep. I'm going to enjoy this tonight with my teammates. We're flying back to Cleveland. We're going to enjoy ourselves. I will start focusing on the task at hand in the morning with the Golden State Warriors. That is a more than acceptable answer.
Absolutely.
But to say that it is too stressful, could you imagine those words coming out of some of the other all-time greats that we often refer to when we bring up LeBron James?
It never happened. It never happened.
Could you imagine Larry Bird saying, man, I don't know, man. I don't even want to think about Magic and the Lakers. That's too stressful for me. Could you imagine Michael saying that about any of the teams he had to get through, or Kobe? No. I mean, it's like I said, you can deflect it without having to add that on there. So I thought that was odd. You're the first person to ask me about that. I'm glad you did, because I actually had forgotten that happened. But the night it happened, I was watching that live, and it struck me immediately as very strange.
So again, what does that say to you?
Well, I mean, I just think that there is something, look, that's not 100% certain. And then think about this now. Think about what I'm saying, because, and I think you agree with me, it sounds like, think about how scary it is that he is able to do what he does. If I'm telling you there may be even a small percentage, even if it's 2%, 3% of doubt in his mind, that he could end up with a resume that no one else can touch by the time he's done with what he will have accomplished on the court in terms of leading all-time leading scorer, 4 MVPs. Who knows, what the titles are going to end up. Doesn't look good right now because he's got to deal with this team for a while. But all of it combined, he'll be top 5 in assists when he's done. All of that stuff combined, and you say, and yet there's something slightly off in the deep recesses. And it comes out, and I think he's better served sometimes keeping that to himself, because it opens you up to as an athlete or as somebody covering him to wonder, like, what do you mean by that? Why is this stressing you out to think about playing them? Even if it is, you don't admit things like that.
Tim Legler, is LeBron James the best player in this series, or is it Kevin Durant?
I think it's Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant's been the best player in the series because of the magnitude of what he has done when they've needed it. And look, he's not going to necessarily. And I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Do you have?
He's averaging 34 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists on 56% shooting from the field, 52.4 from 3-point range.
That's Durant.
That's Durant.
Yeah. I mean, come on, his numbers even stack up. Because I was wondering, I wasn't sure exactly where Durant's rebounding numbers were and whatnot. But come on,
he's averaging 10 rebounds.
KD's been and not only that. If you remember Game 2. He was elite level defensively in that game.
Oh, by the way, LeBron James is averaging 5.7 turnovers. Kevin Durant, 2.
Here's the thing that's kind of alarming in this series is this, and look at last night, a perfect example. Cleveland couldn't have done much more than they did. They still lost. And they're looking at this team across from them and they're saying, okay, Warriors just scored 250 points in 2 games and they turned the ball over 38 times. Okay, if they have normal ball security, normal for an NBA team, they probably dropped 145 in Game 2, and they probably dropped 130 to 135 last night. And yet here we are quibbling over a couple late possessions just to give them a chance to be in the series.
Now,
and the truth of the matter is Golden State is a much better team.
Now let me say this. Mama Durant, Kevin Durant's mama, is on me hard because she don't like how I said the weakest move in NBA history, in sports history as far as I'm concerned, whatever. She's absolutely sweet to me. She's adorable. Please don't get me wrong. It's nothing malicious. But she let me know. She was looking at me last night. Ooh, one more victory, Stephen. Ooh, I'm going to come looking for you. And she ain't joking. She's going to get me good. But Tim Legler, I stand by what I said before. Kevin Durant, it was the weakest move. Here's why. He's proven it. This dude is doing what he's doing for a team that went 73-9 without him and lost in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So how much credit do you give to Kevin Durant to joining an already well-oiled machine? I'm not talking about his greatness because we all know he was great before he ever arrived in Golden State. I'm talking about what we're seeing from the Golden State Warriors. How much credit does he deserve considering the well-oiled machine he joined?
A ton. And you and I disagree on this point.
Okay.
When it went down, yes, my statement on it, and I'll say this about any guy in the same situation, is this. There's a competitive nature that guys like that should have, that they want to elevate the situation they're in to a place that they haven't been. And in that case, it was that organization which hadn't won a championship since the late 70s. Okay, he gave it 8 years. He almost did it last year, and he left and went and joined a team that actually knocked them out. So it was valid to question, the competitiveness. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, he is proving this, and I said it at the time, the one thing he can do to get people off his back about making this move is not only go to Golden State and lead them to a title, but be the best player on the floor in doing it, and he's doing that. And here's why I say that, Stephen A. He's showing you right now he can do things to defenses that Steph and Clay at times cannot. And they showed it last year because Cleveland got very physical with those two guys, and they're smaller guys. And when you are a smaller guy and a wing player and you start getting hit and bumped and forced out on the floor and made to play in traffic, there's only so much you can do to go over the top of guys. Durant goes over the top of great defense. So I don't know that Golden State wins another title without Kevin Durant. I don't know that happens.
Well, let me say this to you. We don't disagree on any of those points. We don't disagree at all. You're absolutely right because he's been the best player in this series. I predicted they would win the series and he would win MVP, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. But where my point is augmented is my disgust with him going to Golden State because I talked about how lopsided the season would be because of his greatness. And to me, that's exactly what he's doing.
I hear that. And there's the validity to that. I mean, you've made basically, as long as this team's together, you may have made the NBA irrelevant until 2 weeks in June every year. I mean, that's very possible. But my point is, I don't know that Kevin Durant ever wins a title staying where he was, and I don't know that Golden State wins another one without him. So at the end of the day, you're talking about winning a championship as the most important thing. We all say it all the time. It's ultimately what you're judged by. So people can say, hey, he went there because he needed them to be able to win a ring. Well, now, the way he's playing in this series, he's also showing, no, you know what? They also needed me.
Okay, so here's the last question. When all of this is said and done, especially if this ends tomorrow night in a sweep, is Kevin Durant crowned as the best player in the world.
So you're going to ask me that right before I get off the air?
That's right. Because we've been saying LeBron, you've been saying LeBron, I've been saying LeBron. But if Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers after David Griffin went out, got Kyle Korver, got Darren Williams, got Derek Williams, even though Andrew Bogut got hurt, you got him too. You gave LeBron what he asked for. And this is the result. A sweep with Kevin Durant as the MVP, with LeBron guarding him most of the time, Tim Legler. You know that better than me. Do we now crown Kevin Durant, not just a champion, not just an NBA Finals MVP, but the best player in the world?
I'm fine with it. I'm good with it. I can say it, and I'm going to sleep like a baby. I'm okay with it, particularly if he finishes this off with a sweep, gets the MVP. Now, we know what could happen. LeBron and the Cavs rise up, get a game on Friday, and it takes everybody off the hook. Is that what you're saying? Because they didn't sweep them?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I'm saying with it either way. I'm comfortable with it either way. I've seen enough out of where. First of all, he had the best year of his career, even though he averaged 32 one year in Oklahoma City. This was the best season of Kevin Durant's career.
No question.
No doubt about it. And it shows you what happens when great players get better shots. Because that's what he got this year.
That's why I think Carmelo should have been with LeBron. Because he wouldn't beat Kevin Love shooting 1 for 9 last night.
No.
Wouldn't have happened.
There's no question about that. Now the question is this, Stephen A. You know, we're talking about 3 years in a row of this. Is this going to be 4, 5, 6? Like, how many years in a row are these two teams going to meet? And I got news for you. Cleveland has a lot of gap to make up.
Well, that's true. And I got to go. But I'll leave you with this to contemplate.
All right.
The interesting part in all of this, it's not what Golden State's going to do. It's what LeBron and Cleveland's going to do.
Oh, yeah.
Because LeBron might decide it may be best for him to leave again.
Oh, if he does that, what happened the last time in Cleveland is going to look like a mild protest at the lunch at the cafeteria because they don't have ham today.
Wow.
If he leaves again, I'm probably moving to another country because it's going to get ugly.
Tim Legler, love you, bro.
All right, man.
See you soon.
You got it.
All right.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast. Damn it, I mean it!
Thanks again to my man Tim Legler for coming on the show and talking to us about that. He said, look, if LeBron James was to depart from Cleveland again, it would be worse than it was the first go-around. That's what he said. That's what he said. We got to be honest about it. This stuff is getting very interesting. LeBron James turns 33 years of age on December 30th. Kevin Durant turns 29 in September. He's 4 years younger than LeBron, and he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, this could potentially be it for LeBron. I mean, we just don't know. All because of Durant. I got to admit to you, this is what it is. You got to give respect where it's due. Like I said before, everybody want to get on me and they just jump the gun, because I called it. And I stand by it. I thought it's the weakest move that I've ever seen by a superstar. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going off about the move because Kevin Durant's a superstar. He's that big of a difference maker, which is why I hated him going to Golden State. I wanted Golden State to have competition. And clearly I was right. Look at what's happened. Good luck, NBA. You only got one team to talk about.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.